Elder Dember. Okay, we're working for the 25th anniversary of Project Row House, celebrating its founding, and we're with the CD.
I have been there.
Project.
To the Project Row House.
Yes,
I have visited there.
What is your name?
Jean Wilkins Dember.
What year were you born?
January 29th, 1930.
Where were you born?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York, in Kings County Hospital. My mother was a welfare recipient.
You've been living also in Houston for how many years?
Back and forth for about, well, I'd say 20 years.
I'd say longer than that.
All right, I'll accept it.
And you live in the Third Ward community here in Houston, Texas?
Yes.
Only a few blocks away
from Shape Center.
From Shape Center and from Project
Shape.
And Project Row House.
Yes. So
how old are you?
I'm 88 years old by the grace of God, and I'll be 89 come January 29th, 2018.
2018.
2018.
You were married to the same man. What was his name?
Clarence Robert Dember.
And how long were you all married?
60 years, by the grace of God. And
children?
I was his social worker, his psychotherapist, his massage therapist, and his vegetarian cook.
How many children do you all have?
6, by the grace of God, and a foster daughter.
Tell us the story about what the doctor told you about having children.
The doctor said I would never have any children. I would have to have surgery. And my mother said, you will not get cut. And of course we listened to our mothers, and I went to every shrine that I could get to pray for children. And I went to Canada, and I have 6 children. I had 4 miscarriages.
So you were born in Brooklyn, you raised them, you married Father Clarence Dember, and you raised your family there in New York?
Yes.
A lot of people know you because you wear the hat with all of the buttons of Black history.
Giving credit where it's due.
But you got involved in the 1970s in political and community activity in New York?
There was anti-poverty programs in New York, and I became a representative in the parents' organization, and I was a member of the Suffolk County, New York anti-poverty program.
So you had 6 children.
Yes.
But you also became involved in your community. You had 6 children and a husband. How is it that you did all of these things at once?
Well, my husband was patient. That's how I did it. And at first, he wasn't keen on going to meetings. And when the police killed someone in our neighborhood, he began to come to meetings. Because we only had 1 son, and we had 5 daughters.
What would you say the key or the secret was to you all having a 60-year-long marriage?
Like I said, I was his therapist. At first, my husband overindulged in alcohol. And I don't tell people that, but I see that it's such a problem that we have to realize that people can overcome their addictions. And it was a family problem also, because his father had the same problem. And they were not accepted because his mother was from Barbados, her husband was from Selma, Alabama, and they were very fair complected, and there was a lot of color issues in the community. Her first husband and her first children were brown skinned, but he died and she married Mr. Elder Dember, and he was fair complected, so she had fair complected children, and they were not accepted. But they didn't let that bother them. They lived in the black community with their brown-skinned children and their high yellow children.
So you and Father Dember, you all moved to Houston over 3 decades ago. You were going back and forth, spending part of your time in Houston, part of your time in New York. You've been engaged with the Shape Community Center, with the National Black United Front, with the Anti-Death Penalty Coalition, with the Elders Institute of Wisdom, with
the Anti-Poverty Program.
All of the African Temple. Everybody knows Elder Dember in Houston. What has been the thrust of your activism? What are the main things that you want people to know, the message that you want people to get out of all the work that you put in?
Well, we're phenomenal people because we have been so marginalized, so oppressed, so traumatized. I mean, rape, molestation, child molestation, police murders, nothing was left out. The atrocities that have been done to us, and we continue to persevere. I mean, somebody said to me one time, you're too light-skinned to be involved with black people. I said, well, I'm not going to be able to change my color, and there's nobody stepping up to do the work that I'm doing. And so nobody was talking about our mental health. And that's what I wanted to focus on, because we were self-medicating with the drugs and the alcohol because of the trauma that we had been exposed to. And nobody's saying there was any issues with our mental health.
And you founded a group called Africans United for Sanity Now to deal with the mental health issues in the African black community.
Exactly, because I didn't want our parents to be given their psychotropic drugs to the children. One of my daughters had issues in her classroom. She came home and she said that her teacher said she must get on medication. And I said, you are not going to take any of their pills. And we became vegetarians. Went to Sunshines, had my eyes read, got my husband to go, had his eyes read. He became a vegetarian. At first, he said, "Oh, you must be crazy. I'm not going to be a vegetarian." I fried the best chicken that was ever known, and I said, "Baby, I'm not frying any more chicken for you." That's the bottom line.
So you've been a vegetarian how long?
For over 40 years.
For over 40 years.
Yeah.
Tell us a funny story about you, your husband, and raising your children. What's one of the funniest things that ever happened?
Well, I'm going to say that, in my opinion, not too many funny things happen. I didn't do too much laughing. Oh. Our situation was so traumatizing because we were not actually accepted by the black community and not accepted by the European community. So, and we certainly weren't Latino, so there was no way of fitting in and being productive. So persevering has been a challenge.
Persevering.
Yeah, and my husband's family was exposed to alcohol, and his father overcame alcoholism, and his mother was from the West Indies, and she did not drink, and she was a slam bang cook, and he stopped drinking, and gradually my husband and his brothers stopped drinking.
Outstanding. For younger people coming behind you, the youth, for those yet unborn, what message do you have for them that you would like for them to know?
Sex isn't strawberry jam, and you can spread it around, but you're not going to solve problems. And I had one man as an intimate partner my entire life.
Can you say that again?
I had one man as an intimate sexual partner my entire life. And I believe in marital fidelity. And somebody said to me one time, well, you know, you didn't mess around, you didn't get, no. That was not my solution, my way of solving any problems. And when I first married my husband, he was a very diligent workman, very, I would say, dependable, and never messed up the money, but he did have a drinking issue.
Amen.
And I was sober. And I took, I was walking the street one time, and somebody came by smoking a reefer. And I smelled it, and my head went, whoop! And I said, I'm not going to do that.
Okay. We're going to close out with this. You think you can call up that poem, Jesus Was a Black Man?
I sure can, by the grace of God. And I was told I couldn't recite it at the elders meeting that we went to just last week.
Oh.
I wasn't allowed to get up and recite it. And I don't charge for presentations.
Okay.
Jesus was a black man. How could that be true? Because they lied when they said he wasn't rich in hue. The Bible says hair like lamb's wool, feet like burnt brass, hiding in Africa where he didn't have to pass. Mama and daddy, they was black too. What you color-phobic people gonna do? I got a website just for you. www.racismtest.org.com. If you say color doesn't matter, and that's a fact, why don't you tell the world Jesus was black?
Elder Gene Wilkins Dember, 3rd Ward, Houston, Texas.
And I went back to school when I was 40 years old. I have a master's degree from a black university, and they never taught us about the 400 lynch murders that we experienced, or was it 4,000? They never told us about the mass rapes, nothing, the child abductions, nothing.
At 40 years old with 6 children and a husband, you went back to school and got a master's. Thank you, Elder Dember.
Thank you ever so much. I'm grateful. And I don't charge for presentations or consultations. Because one time I was getting ready to charge for a poem, and Spirit said to me, I didn't charge you when I gave it to you.
Say. All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.